Blessed when I wake up, blessed to have bread, blessed when
And we're back with the Brewsters.
Babe, this is not the podcast.
That's okay. I mean, I want to practice. Podcast coming soon, y'all. We actually had a pretty good response from the first video, more than we really imagined or thought. So we wanted to kind of come back and do some follow-ups and maybe, go a little bit deeper into our story, why we're here. We're excited to have you guys join us. So, we've been married 4 years. We just celebrated 4 years of being married, together for 5. I mentioned in the last video that when we first met, or what's up, babe?
Nothing. I just remembered. It's Lolo's birthday today.
Oh, Lord. Y'all say happy birthday.
She's
to Lolo.
1. And if y'all don't know, like a month ago?
About a month ago, we almost lost her.
We almost lost her.
Yeah.
To a little stroke. Not so little, but she made it. And she's pretty like 98% back to normal. But she turns 1 today, our little princess. All right.
It's kind of cool because that was literally a little miracle, And so if God can do a miracle with a little dog, no telling what he can definitely do with us. But yeah, when I mentioned on my last video that when we first met and started talking, you had mentioned that you were not interested in having any more children. You had Kimora. You were satisfied with your one and done. And not only were you not interested, you didn't feel like you were even physically able to reproduce at that time.
Not reproduce.
Yeah, reproduce. So that was a little bit alarming for me at first, but then in kind of a split second, like I had an overwhelming peace about it. Just really feeling like, you were somebody who God brought into my eye line and my eyesight and gave me the green light to really pursue. And I was like, you know what, God, I know that you have put on my heart, the love for having children. And so my wife is definitely going to have to see that vision for it to even be possible. And here we are. We're here. But we kind of wanted to, hey, you guys chill.
They choose the best times.
I know, right?
Get them together.
Jackson, Lolo, come here. Come here. Come here. Y'all ain't gonna be wrestling on video. Anyway, so let's talk. Why did you feel the need to go ahead and make a decision not to want to have children after Kimora?
Ooh, this is so deep. For multiple reasons. Long story short, in like a snapshot is that, and mind you, at this time I didn't have all these revelations, or I didn't even have an understanding of why I was operating the way I was. So now, almost 9 years later, because I believe I made a permanent decision not to have kids. I think Cammie was maybe 1.5. So almost 8 years ago, I was just in a place in my life where I didn't trust anybody. And it was deeply rooted in fear. And my personal experience with my pregnancy, where I was at, stop, Jackson, was not the greatest. It wasn't like the best time of my life or anything like that. And I was depressed for the most part of the pregnancy. And whether people were physically around me or not during the pregnancy, I felt alone. And I was a drag to be around, to be honest. Like anybody who would even show excitement about me being pregnant, I would shut it down. There was even a friend of mine who wanted to come to my baby shower, And I told her, which this is ridiculous when I repeat this, but I told her that the only way she could come, because she was very extra and stuff like that. And I said, the only way you can come is you can't touch my belly, you can't like scream or get too excited, because then I'm gonna ask you to leave. And I was like dead serious.
Right.
And she came and she honored my request. But when I, over time reflected back on that time, I was like, dang, I was really depressed and really like just in a dark place emotionally, mentally. And in general, I have just a really long lasting, I don't know if long lasting is the right word, but a long history of just
long history, yeah.
Unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships with men. And I mean, this stems back from me being a child. So I've just had a lot of disappointments when it comes to men that have been in my life, whether it's been platonic, whether it's been romantic, whether it's been from an authority standpoint, like a father or stepfather, uncle, brother, just in general. Like my history with men was just crap. And from the heartbreak of just coming to the realization of all of that, I thought that by getting my tubes tied, which is what I did, it gave me a sense of control. Like I can tie my tubes, and that way, and this sounds silly now, but in my mind then I was like, that way I won't ever trust anybody to that extent to where, and here's the crazy part, right? Because in reality, like if I didn't want to have kids with anybody else because I didn't want to risk, the heartbreak that comes with like not ending up with the father of your child and all of that good stuff, or even having multiple kids and just doing it by yourself. Like I just didn't want that for me. And instead of just being disciplined and just abstaining from intercourse, I said, you know what? Because I'm immature and operating from a place of deep fear, and because I want to have my cake and eat it too, instead, I'm going to go tie my tubes and make a permanent decision on very temporary, fickle feelings that, of course, in time would fade, and I would mature, and I would grow, and I would get married, and I would desire kids again, and all of this stuff.
Just from like one season of your life.
Well, it was one season that maybe triggered the decision, but it wasn't just that season. It wasn't just my pregnancy. It was just, I think in general, I was tired of being let down. And this was just an area where I knew that my heart was really big and open, and I'm a pleaser by nature. So I knew that getting in other relationships, if the guy even uttered the word, I want to have a kid with you, that I'm likely to just be gullible and like comply because I'm a pleaser. And I was like, I don't trust myself to be in those kind of situations. So I'm taking the choice away from myself.
Gotcha.
But it boils down to a lack of discipline and obedience and a bunch of other stuff. Like at the end of the day, that was just a reckless decision. And trust me when I tell you, now being married, and my heart being shifted, because I genuinely convinced myself that I didn't want any more kids. And so then my heart being shifted, and there was a period, maybe a couple years back, where I was dealing with a lot of guilt because I felt like now we're facing all these difficulties unnecessarily because of a decision that I made. Not only that, but even with Cammie, I was told way back when I first joined the military, that I was infertile and that my environment, my uterus, was not, say the word for me.
I don't know what word you want me to say. Huh? Habitable. That's a word?
Yeah, I can never say
Habitable.
it right. Habitable. It wasn't healthy.
Yeah. Basically, you wasn't going to be able to carry a child.
Yeah, they said not only was I infertile, but even if by some miraculous miracle I did get pregnant, I wouldn't carry the pregnancy to full term. So, and that theory was tested, just to be transparent. And if I did ever get pregnant, it never fully came to terms. So, at one point I started believing and accepting what the doctors had told me for years and years and years. And then fast forward 2011, I got pregnant in February, and I was actually just got out of the military and had just gotten a job in overseas as a contractor. making the good money. You know what I mean? I'm single, don't have no kids. That's the best time to do stuff like that.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, score. I'm going to stack up my money, save, you know, pay off any debt, yada, 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 right? The whole time I was pregnant. The pregnancy test that you take before you even go over there failed, or I was too early in my pregnancy for it to be a positive. So I was pregnant my whole first trimester in Afghanistan. So there was no medical, there was like a lot of red tape with the fact that I was a contractor and not military. So I couldn't like go get prenatal meds, and not only that, but they didn't have the resources to necessarily care for pregnant people, because in theory you're not supposed to be there. So the whole time we were working out paperwork to try to get me back home. So the whole first 3 months of my pregnancy, I was overseas. Whoa. So the whole time I'm pregnant, I'm distraught. I'm trying to hide the pregnancy because, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to lose this baby. Like, there's no way it's going to carry to full term. And sure enough, 3 months in, I'm still pregnant. I can't fit in my clothes. I had to wear my boyfriend at the time pants, or I think he bought me like more pants, and I had to buy like bigger shirts and stuff because I couldn't fit my clothes. Eventually, I did get to come home. You know, the pregnancy itself was tough. I almost lost her at one point because of I had caught some, I think it was E. coli or salmonella, one or the other, from like fruit not being washed properly or something. E. coli. And my body was trying to like get rid of the foreign stuff. And I remember calling the people and telling them like, hey, I feel like my baby's coming out my hoo-ha. Like I feel like her head is like about to pop out. And mind you, I've never experienced birth before. So I'm imagining that's what that feels like, because it was painful. It was a lot of pressure, and it literally felt like I could reach down there and touch her skull. And of course they're telling me, oh no, that's just normal pressure, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, I was very adamant about something is wrong. And so I went back and they tested me, and I came back with E. coli and all this good stuff. So anywho, so I have the baby. Obviously I was fertile enough, and obviously my environment is not tore up as they said it was, because 10 years later, I got a whole child. However, I tied my tubes now. Fast forward, I tied my tubes. And so now I'm 35. Based on statistics and numbers, I'm at that age window where, you know, things can be a little bit more challenging. And I know there's slew and a whole bunch of stories of women who have babies like way older than what I am. I'm just speaking from like a scientific, like analytical standpoint. You know, that's the kind of stuff that gives me anxiety, because the numbers say, you know, at 35 to like 40, your chances continue to decrease as you get older. And not only that, but I have no idea what my environment looks like down there, because I haven't been back to necessarily check specifically how healthy my uterus is. Like I go get my pap smears and stuff like that, but that's like surface check-ins, just making sure there's no obvious like issues. And on top of that, my tubes are tied. So we're going in through this IVF process, and we don't really know what it's going to look like. You know, we know the tube tying thing is probably the easiest part, because that's the whole point of IVF. They just put it in your uterus and you don't have to worry about the fallopian tubes and stuff. But what makes me nervous and what makes me anxious is, you know, am I going to be able to carry the embryo, you know, successfully? Cammy was for sure a miracle. I definitely believe God can absolutely do it again. Hey guys, stop fighting, please. Cut it out. Hey!
Jackson, come here.
They just don't want us to be great. So
come here.
Anywho, so it's a lot. I don't necessarily feel guilty anymore. I feel like I forgive myself for it. There's a level of me that feels like really stupid.
I don't think you're stupid. I'm happy that you have reached a place and a point of forgiving yourself for just operating from a level of fear, from a temporary season of your life. And with this brief background, that doesn't really scratch the surface of what was probably going on inside your mind.
No.
And of course, we didn't even touch on, you had the mentality of anybody that you ended up with was probably going to have kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so it's like, you know what, why do I need to, be available to have children? They're going to have kids. And so we'll just be a blended family. And it just so happened that you ended up with somebody who didn't have kids, And I think that God had a plan. He had a purpose. This entire situation was a way of stretching my faith from the very, very beginning of like, okay, before we ever get too deep in this relationship, before we even catch feelings, right? You're faced with this obstacle from, a plan that you definitely wanted to come to pass, having children one day. Is that going to stop something that's incredible happening? So far, it hasn't. And so 4 years later, we're here. Thank God for the technology and being in a place where we even have access to it. Other people, they don't even have access to even make these type of decisions or choices. There's actually some more to the story. It wasn't just your decision of fear that, that you had to kind of overcome. I didn't make it easier on you either. Man, we have to do a part 2 video for that.
We could do a whole other part for that because I feel like that needs its own little moment.
Yeah, most definitely. But thank God for grace. I thank God for knowing exactly what we need when we need it. And we thought...
No, you can't tell them that yet.
I can't?
No.
Okay.
I'm joking.
No, I mean...
Okay, so... our original appointment was set for July 20th, right. And that's like next month. So we've been anxious to like get there already. And yesterday we got a phone call, or the day before we got a phone call.
A couple days ago.
That our appointment got moved up to tomorrow at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So first thing, Friday or tomorrow morning, we get to meet our doctor and kind of talk about our background, our history, and talk about, what our options are, realistically, what we're looking at, what the timeline really looks like, how we can prepare better and even more. So I'm super excited about it. It's going to be more informational, and I think that's going to bring me a lot of more just peace about this whole process. So we're really excited about that. And we're definitely because the whole IVF journey started because my tubes were tied. Right. But things got way more complicated further down the line. But that's a whole nother chapter that we will dive into in the next video. And then after that, and we kind of catch you guys up with the background and how we got here, we'll kind of share what we learned from the appointment on Friday. But feel free to ask any questions. I'm kind of shy on camera, and I desire to be more transparent about my journey and my testimony, but that's kind of awkward for me. Yeah. So feel free to ask questions. I'm not necessarily embarrassed or shy about sharing my personal journey. I just may have not did the best job on this video.
I don't think so. I think you did great.
But I'm working on it. But so yeah, guys, another little something cute, right? I got my most recent tattoo. It's right here on my collarbone.
Wait, you have a tattoo?
Be quiet. It says "Sin miedo" in which is Spanish for no fear or without fear. And I just got this year, but I feel like I wish I would have had this level of grit. Not that I don't have grit now, because I've been through some stuff, but I wish I had this level of like faith and trust in God to like operate without fear a lot sooner in my life.
Right.
But we here now, so we okay. But that's what this whole thing is really about. Like my entire journey is like just about how much I've operated out of fear in my past and made permanent decisions on temporary feelings or temporary things, temporary moments, temporary seasons, and how I'm moving forward now, doing things just differently, viewing life differently, viewing my marriage differently, parenting differently, just everything, trying to look at it through a lens of without fear. So if any of you guys want to ask me any questions, reach out to me personally. You can ask him questions on how he dealt with it, because there's a level of faith he had to tap into as well to even marry somebody who was very adamant up front. Because I don't think I necessarily changed my mind about having kids like before he even proposed.
You did.
Okay?
You did.
So there's a lot there to unpack as well. We just don't want to make these videos super long, so we're trying to kind of condense it. But there'll be more videos. Ask questions. Let me know what you guys, or let us know if there's anything specifically you want us to kind of dive into. And yeah.
Walk this journey with us. We excited. I love you, babe.
Love you too, babe.